Hey, what's up, everyone? Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Welcome. Happy Thursday, the 17th. Like normal, this one was supposed to be dropped yesterday, and I didn't have that opportunity to. Good old Mrs. Blue Ridge ended up throwing out her back, so I was tending more to her in her time of need yesterday. So this gets dropped on a Thursday, and that's fine. It's a help you guys out as we approach the weekend, give you some insight, perspective on what you can find out there in the wild today. Mid errors, die varieties, key dates, various things like that that you can cherry pick or find simply by going through change bank rolls. If you're at a show or a shop, you can certainly cherry pick some of these as well, and then do whatever you want with it. Two of the most favorable things to do with these coins that you do find is either keep them in your collection. You'd be able to add a pretty high profile piece to your collection for next to nothing, or you can resell it. A lot of folks that I do know that do this. They'll cherry pick coins at shows, and then they'll turn around and flip them right on eBay and just collect a whole bunch of money as a result. So that's another way that you could approach this. So that's something to keep in mind as we go through the items today. Nothing is graded, all right? So everything that you're going to see here today is 100% raw. With errors and varieties, they are highly liquid in the form that they keep. You don't need to spend the extra money to grade them. Keep that money in your pocket because at the end of the day, we are really counting dollars and cents here, folks. So aside from this, we are going to do a whole other video. I want to kind of like let you guys know that and talk about the insane debacle that is the 2024 flowing hair metal that has caught the wind of a lot of content creators of the coin community. We have a lot to talk about, and we have a lot to unwrap here with this. So we're going to discuss this in a completely separate video. Obviously, that doesn't fit the mold of the Pocket Change Market Report, but something is that deep and that important that we have to talk about it and at least give you guys a little bit of a preview on things like the PCMR report. So we'll do a video of that and probably drop this weekend, just to kind of talk about the things about that release, and how it has just completely blown up the internet, into this wild shit show. And I'm gonna take great pleasure, kind of dissecting it, talking about it, and all the ramifications that have occurred as a result of that release. So stay tuned for that. It should be a freaking talking point of the ages there. I did have a show yesterday set up. I actually had to push it out to today. So we have a show today, this Thursday afternoon. We also have a show on Friday, like we do every single week, on the platform Whatnot. And, I sell US type on there. We do a lot of world coins as well, bullion. Currency is another thing that we sell quite a bit of on the platform. And it's a great marketplace, and it's one of the premier live auction sites that you will ever encounter today. And if you're not signed up, now might be a good time to come check things out. I have my link down below in the description box. If you sign up under me today, you will receive $15 off your first item that you buy, whether that's from me or one of the other great streamers on the platform. But the holidays are fast approaching. I have my big holiday giveaway that we do annually that is going to be hosted on the platform Whatnot. It used to be on YouTube, but now we're doing it here on because it's easier for shipping and things like that. So that's another great reason to be a part of that is to take advantage of the big holiday giveaway that we normally do the first week of December. So it should be a lot of fun. Furthermore, the platform is looking for motivated sellers, for this time of year to really jump on one of the fastest growing sites, bar none, of this type of selling activity. And what Whatnot is doing is absolutely phenomenal. They're going to match up to your first $150 in sales through the first 7 days if you sign up right now. It's a limited time offering. They've never done this before. They're doing it specifically to ramp up more activity during the holidays. And there couldn't be any better time to do so rather than now. So if you have some of those pieces that you're looking to sell that are market viable, you might be looking at the supplemental income kind of pathway that you're looking for, and Whatnot is that for sure. All right, so thank you for looking at that there. Let's go ahead and jump into what's been going on here. This first one is quite interesting, and it's a real shame that it is in this 2x2 cardboard flip. It looks like a 1953 Roosevelt dime that was struck through a die cap on the reverse. All right, kind of interesting. Normally we see this on the obverse, not so much on the reverse. I feel like this one I want to know more. It says brockage, but there ain't a whole lot in the way of brockage on the reverse of the coin. And it's sold for quite a bit of money. This one ended up selling for $123.45 with 6 total bids. So again, I have some question marks about this coin. It looks legit because there's nothing that would indicate some sort of post-mint kind of manipulation here on this one, considering how clean the obverse is on this one. So if you do come across something like this, odds are it's a struck through cap die. But there might be other things that could be up with it as well, so pretty interesting way to kick off the PCMR for the week, or for this particular episode, because we do 2 PCMRs every week. But yeah, it's pretty neat. You never know what you're gonna find out there. Okay, we do have a couple pieces of currency. Now this one is most relevant because it's a relatively new note. And I actually had someone that had commented on one of my previous videos. I'd have to say it was sometime over the summer. And they said, well, you can't find a lot of the errors that I highlight on these PCMR videos on much newer pieces of currency until it actually happens. Like wet ink transfers, those type of things. Normally we see those on notes from the 70s and 80s, right? And sometimes 90s. Yet we were staring at a 2017 A series note. This one was released within the last 6 years or so. And it has a partial back to front wet ink transfer. Well, what do you know? You can see it there on the top right corner where you have some of that reverse design printed on the front, but just mirrored. Again, you can't really mistake it for anything else. It looks totally legit. Based off of what it looks like. When we look at the back of the note, it looks like a normal note. It's just that little partial corner wet ink transfer, that really, I'm glad that someone actually found this, because if it wasn't for the fact that this one does exist in today's world, we would automatically assume that these things are non-existent in, in today's, I guess, world, I suppose. And it does have a pretty hefty price tag to match. A lot of people did bid on this one because they know what it is, right? There was no fooling anyone. $156.29 with 18 bids was the completion on this one. And, people do understand the rarity and the importance of such a note like this, considering that it's only a few years old. So pretty neat find there. Glad to see not graded, because, grading is not the end all be all for things like this. We used to live in a time where we didn't grade any of our collectibles, but now it's dominated the collectible scene by and large. And, I love originality from the raw stuff. All right, pretty cool understanding that you could find just about anything on any coin. We have a 1968D Kennedy half dollar. We all know these are 40% silver, but it does have a nice curved sheet clip there right above B&E and Liberty. I mean, it's very noticeable. It's got a very noticeable Blakesley effect too, which is right under the date. That's the corresponding opposite side flattening of the rim. Just during a strike, that area does become flat and it doesn't strike completely through because of the opposite side clip. So this one sold for $18.22 with 9 bids. There was also a 1964 Philly candy half dollar, also with a little bit of a clip. Not nearly as impressive, but it is on there. And the coin is in beautiful shape. It's a nice, brilliant, uncirculated example. This one ended up selling for $25.45 with 9 bids this time around. And coming up next, this is a coin that I ran through some numbers. I went back and I took a look at a lot of like old previous PCMRs. And as far as the most radical mint errors that you could possibly find, it is these Washington quarters with the cud die breaks right over the date. You won't know what the date is. All right, you will just have like a general idea if and only if it has a mint mark on there. But these things pop up more frequently than some or most like die clashes and laminations on certain dates. These are quite impressive, and they exist out there in pocket change today. I'm glad to see them coming up in all different types of condition. Just the mere fact that this one looks pretty good. It's a low end mid state example. If I had to venture a guess, based off of these photographic images, it might even be a little bit AU, like a slider. It looks like a slider example. So this cud die break example here sold for $106.45. 13 total bids. Lots of activity. And I typically see 3 or 4 of these sell every single week. So they are out there. The Mint did produce a whole bunch of these. Apparently where the date sits on these later 70s, early 80s Washingtons, it seems to be a very weak area on the die due to some sort of modification they had done a while back. This is probably post-bicentennial era, dates, like 77 to 79 and in the first few years of 80s. Because I know they became a little bit more shallower in that area to mitigate things like a breaking die in this particular area. So they all sell, constantly on average for around $100. I mean, that's like easy money right there. We also have this one here. This is actually a very impressive 1986 Lincoln Memorial Cent. It's off center by about 80%. Nice full readable date. If it had a mid-mark, you could read that as well. Cherry pickable probably at a coin shop or show. The general consensus being that, most shop owners, they just don't give a rat's ass about mint errors or die varieties. They prefer to sell stuff that's easiest and quicker to turn around for them. So when they do come across things like this, it's not that they won't buy them. They just won't give you a lot of money for them at the shop. But online, that's a completely different story. This one ended up selling for $24.45 with 12 bids. So again, another nice one here. 1995P Jefferson nickel. This one's off center by about 50%, maybe a tick up from that. Nice, impressive, high grade specimen. And this coin right here, and this is something that I don't bring up on occasion. We all tend to consider something like planchet nicks on a freshly minted coin as being scratches. But what we're actually seeing is the actual raw blank, or the planchet, as you see here with all the scratches and nicks. That's what it looked like before the coin was struck. Depending on the quality of the planchets. And, even during the 80s and 90s, the planchets were not in that good a shape. So those translated onto the actual finished product, especially on the higher points of the devices that don't receive nearly as much of the strike. So this one right here sold for $31.54, 12 bids. There's probably a date collection that would want this specimen here. It's just a nice, bright, mid-state example that would appeal to a lot of collectors. And this one here, this one is quite oddball. This is a South Carolina statehood quarter. It's a 2000, I believe. That was struck on scrap. That's what it is. And it's neat as all get out. And this is the type of coin that normally folks would end up in a graded holder, and I would be 100% behind that practice if something like this was graded. So it's got, you know, a funky elliptical clip looking thing, and it wasn't a completely round planchet, I can tell you that. And this one did weigh out at 3.098 grams as well per the seller. So not surprised at the price tag, $230.45 with 6 bids. Again, there were a few power players that were gunning for this one, and I would say we see these pop up maybe once, twice a year. So this is probably the one and only shot that you'll see a coin struck um, on scrap, sell raw, ungraded on the open market. Again, this thing could be graded, probably would sell for $500 to $600. And here's what they call a double struck coin. It's a Jefferson nickel, no readable date. It's also what they have to be a uniface. So you have a fully struck secondary strike that's about 80-85% off center, but on the reverse of the coin, it's not, which means that this particular one was overlapping on a blank planchet, and then both coins were struck simultaneously, just way off center from each other. So this one here sold for $48.46 with 15 bids. Again, a lot of bidding activity, a lot of organically bid up items here on this video. We also have this it appears to be either a 1913 or 1918. The seller seems to think it's a 13 Lincoln wheat cent with a pretty sizable detached lamination on the obverse there. Goes rim to rim. It's quite attractive. Albeit the coin does look and appear like it's been cleaned. It's just got that light tan color that makes you, kind of shudder in your shorts when you see it, which would normally indicate that the thing was cleaned at one point. How about $36.01? 12 bids on this one. Very very good example. And again, laminations are, I'm not saying they're heating up, but people are paying more attention to them because it's still quite affordable and you could still date collect out of this mid-air. And a cool one here, 1865, 3-cent nickel. Hello. I actually had this same very coin probably about a week ago with the same anomaly on it. This is a repunch date. All right, so there you go. It's got the repunching of pretty much all the numbers on this one here. The number 1 in the date, not as robust, but you can see the repunched numbers. Keeping in mind that the numbers on the working die were all punched manually in there. They weren't created and designed as part of the working die or the hub. So this particular one here sold for $80. I think the one that I had was a little bit lesser condition, and I ended up selling it for like $25. So yeah, quite attractive repunch date. And you'll find a few different variances throughout some of the dates of 3-cent nickels and 2-cent pieces as well. And when we get to what we consider to be the premier types of coins with off-center strikes, these are strictly out-of-collar type production. Candy half dollars and Eisenhower dollars are the two biggest. We have an 83p. This one's off center by roughly 10%. Nothing too crazy, but very noticeable. The coin has circulated too. I'm not opposed to thinking that this one was actually found in a roll of half dollars. That's still a very popular practice today in the hunt of silver and the rising price of that precious metal. So this one here is sold for $100.98. Again, I expected that kind of price. It is very expensive. 1984, Washington quarter. The seller said uncentered broad strike or just broad strike. It could be off center, it could be a broad strike. It's kind of hard to say, but this thing is wild looking. Another strong example could have been also multi-struck, twice or 3 times is really hard to say. If you had the coin in hand, you would have a much better idea if that's the case. $108.50 was the final on this one. 31 bids. Again, people are buyers out there. There's a lot of people looking for those auction pieces that people have put up for 5 or 7 days, and they're just watching them till the waning last moments of the sale of the coin. So not a bad idea. And someone I would say pretty much stole this one. It's a 2000p Sacagawea dollar with the Wounded Eagle reverse variety. This is the FS901 Cherry Picker's Guide variety piece. And this one, as you can tell, it's wounded because it looks like there's a spear going through the eagle, and that's actually a die gouge that's going through the breast feathers there. There's actually a pair of them. There's also another little tiny one just to the left of that much longer piece. $50 is what this one ended up selling at with 4 bids, where we've seen other similar examples of this particular grade sell for between $100 to $150. So this would be one of those, again, if you're using eBay as a business and you're looking to buy stuff for cheap on the platform to resell it, this is one of those examples where you could have really raked in some serious cash. Like me personally, I probably would have bought this and then relisted it at $124.99, buy it now, and it would disappear within 5 to 7 days. They're quite popular and people love these things. Another beautiful note, man. This thing's awesome. 1995 $1 Fed Reserve note, missing the overprint. Man, what a monumental screw up this thing was. Come to find out, it was actually printed on the back of the subject sheet. So there you go. That's your overprint. Wrong side, buddy. No more drinking on the job or drinking during your lunch, because when things like this happen, they do keep track of it, and it can end up costing you your job if it's too much of a degenerate thing that just continues to happen. Now, we as collectors, we enjoy this stuff, but for the BEP employees, it's kind of like a very slippery slope to travel on for sure. So this one sold for $324.50, 22 bids. I mean, very powerful note, very high price tag, and it's to be expected. 2021, Washington crossing the Delaware Quarter. Man, these things they're gonna age gracefully. They're one of my favorite designs since the bicentennial. Not a knock against any of the statehood quarters or the national parks. I think they did the job well, and they portrayed the best images for each respective state and park. But as far as like extraordinary, just iconic designs, we got to give it up to the Drummer Boy Quarter, which is going to go untested for years. And this thing right here, George Washington wearing a hamburger on his hat. My goodness, we all know the crown die chip. This is like a little bit smaller type of that full-size crown. As you can see, it goes into E pluribus unum. $26 with 7 bids for the sale on this one. We also have this beautiful doubled die. The person that wrote the 2x2, they forgot to put a second D on doubled. It's not double die. It's not a die doubled. It's actually a doubled die. Where the working die was hubbed twice with a slight rotation in between one and the other. This is the FS102 variety Cherry Picker's Guide Extraordinaire here. Strong doubling on Liberty and In God We Trust. If it wasn't for FS101, this would be probably bar none the biggest one. A little bit of doubling on the date as well. Not nearly as impressive. $104.95 with 7 bids. Great looking piece and a nice sale. And I threw this one up here. I think people would agree who are purists of the older classical stuff. 1834 matron head, large cent. It's got some neat attributes to there. It's a decent looking coin too. It's got the machine doubled profile of Lady Liberty. You got some of the die cracks that are kind of like forming some of the stars there on the obverse. I mean, what's not to love here? $87.08 with 8 bids. The double profile is actually quite common on these. 1943 piece Silver War nickel with a pretty good lamination event going on the reverse. By the way, laminations are quite commonplace on the wartime silvers. They just had annealing problems like you would not believe. They just had a hard time managing the quality of these planchets when they were being substituted in to ration out the nickel composition. All right. Apparently they didn't care because this was just kind of like a band-aid to fix the nickel and copper rationing problem. So this one here sold for $20.80. Again, another boon for cherry pickers, and it's quite a common occurrence on these. 74D with a cud die break right over there on the obverse there. It's about what, 2 o'clock, right there on the tail end of Trust. This one here, a company called Apmex, who generally sells silver and gold and all sorts of stuff like that. They were selling rolls of this particular cut die break a while back, and people were buying them, and then they were turning around and selling the coins individually. So there are quite a few of this particular cut out there. This one, for example, sold for $27. I don't see too many of them that sell above 30, which gives you just all the information you need to know about how common these are out there today. Here's another great off-center coin, 1983 Philly. Actually, a very common date for this mint error. This one's off-center by about 25%, and $54.35 later, you own this one. 59D Lincoln Memorial Cent with some lamination, some D-lams as they call it, which is a detached lamination, but there's also a couple areas of attached lamination, so that's got a little bit of everything here. Not the greatest looking coin in condition, but it's a very neat, very visually striking type of mint error. And this one sold for $34. My goodness. 21 bids on this one. That's quite a rich price for what we have here. But again, the more appealing it is, get it? Appealing. Yeah, I'm not going to be here all day, folks. And then that's what you get. So, yeah. When you do come across these, do not toss them back, guys. 1965 Lincoln Memorial Cent. A nice regular reverse on it, but what's up with that front, the obverse of the coin? Well, if you guys guessed that this one was struck through an incredibly very late stage capped die, you are 100% correct. That is exactly what we have here on this one. And I mean, for those of you that have looked at a number of these over the years and you know what you're looking for, then this one will certainly pop out at you. $40 bill is what this one sold at. And another coin type that's trending out there are improper alloy mix Lincoln cents, especially. They call these woodies or wood grainers. This is a 1936, albeit it's a coin with lots of problems. It's got a lot of very distracting rim hits on the front and back of the coin. It's very evident. This thing is not perfect in grade, but the wood graining, we cannot argue, is quite phenomenal, especially when it's on both sides. Very rarely do we see this event on both sides. This one sold for $18.86 this time around, and it's just an overall really awesome piece with just all sorts of visual chops that collectors of this will love. And these things, again, trending up, much tougher dates, selling for upwards of $100 to $200. So good to see this one moving up. And then finally, we have finally lived because we have come across a very scarce date off-center struck Lincoln wheat cent. It used to be back in the 90s and early 2000s. More of these were around. The market just soaked them all up, and there's just not a lot of them out there. There was a time where you could have bought these for like $20-$30 back in like 1998. And these days they're just few and far between. So we're talking about a 1918 S Lincoln Wheat Cent, off center by about 50%. No doubt about it, this is a necessity for a date set. People collect these by date and mint mark. A serious enough collector will pay all the money in the world for this, and they certainly did. This one sold for $304 with 31 bids, and there's just no need to grade them. None of these need to be graded because when they're in a date set, people just want them raw, you know. But very, man, that is so awesome to see this one here. It's unlikely that we'll ever see another one. I mean, it took me, what, 7-8 years of doing the PCMR to finally cover a branch mint teens Lincoln Wheat Cent that's all center. I mean, come on now. I mean, that's next level impossible when it comes to these coins. Feel like the price tag should have been a lot higher, but you know, the condition probably set that back a little bit, and that's okay. The collection this is going into won't really care one bit. Wow, what a great list. A lot of very pricey coins. Everybody's taking advantage of just doing regular auctions. You know, some people are having some modicum of success doing buy it now, fixed price listings too. Information provided in this video is for educational use only, not financial advice. Again, collect, grade your coins responsibly. That's always important. And I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge. I wish you guys the best in all of your hunting endeavors, because guess what I'm going to be doing here in about an hour? I'm going to coin shops, yo. And I'm going to be looking for some of these same very coins that we are talking about today. I wish you guys a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you on the next coin video. So long.